Is it best to do 2-to-1 breathing during Nadi Shodhanam? Usually during Nadi Shodhanam you do even breathing. What or where do we go when we sleep? And what happens? You go everywhere. But you don't remember. See, you don't have... The fun is remembering. That's where Yoga Nidra comes in. That's to overcome that obstacle. So that you can use sleep as a means to progress. Right now it's just kind of neutralizing, huh? And the second benefit, well, biologic is the first benefit. Once you get yourself trained to Yoga Nidra, you can probably cut down your sleep 50%. And still, you'll be more refreshed because of the incredible relaxation that is required to get into Yoga Nidra. And boy, you're home free. What has been your biggest challenge on your path?
Yeah.
Slipping from prudence. Not doing the right thing at the right time in the right way.
Practice.
Trying to take shortcuts, getting impatient, not waiting things out. Knowing that third mocha is too much for your tummy. Not paying attention to your hygiene. It can show up in many, many ways. What did you do to overcome it? I more keenly attended to the facts and the estimate of their consequences. I paid more attention to what I was doing, and I weighed the consequences if I didn't do it the right way. Third one, which is quite a question. What is your biggest source of strength? It's the love of friendship and nature. That's my biggest source of strength. May I tell a story about you, Davy, and the animals? It's a nice story. I won't embarrass you. She didn't know I was witnessing this. I was out running. This was in Holmesdale. And she was walking across a farmer's field on a trail, completely absorbed, just strolling along. And I was about 150 yards south of her. I was jogging, and she was walking against me on my left side, and that's what caught my eye. And I said, well, that's interesting. Because right behind her were 8 cows following her. Cows. Cows. And I knew they were following her. And I said, how come? So I was fascinated. I had to follow the cows from the road to watch what was happening while they were following her. They followed her all the way until she finally had to climb over a fence. They went right up to the fence. So I said, there's something going on here, you know. So I went back to Swamiji. He said, Swami, you won't believe what I saw. What did you see? Teresa was walking along, and there were 8 moo cows following her. I always call them moo cows. He said, well, of course. What do you mean, of course? She had a Krishna mantra, she was saying. There are certain sounds that you can emit in mantras that will attract living creatures. They were just following her because she was mumbling it on her Malabis. That's what it is. All the cows were following her. Wait, doesn't end there. So she went out for a walk the next day. Aha. You know me, sneaking along in the woods. I got, what's going on here? And she sat down on a rock. She was just sitting there quietly, her eyes. And I couldn't believe what I saw. A huge butterfly. Right on her knee. She didn't even know it. She was in meditation. I was just watching the two of them. He just stood there a long time. I suspect he felt the vibrations from the meditation. Was attracted to it. It just came. I asked Swamiji, where do they come from? He says, you won't believe this. They're in the atmosphere. Can you imagine? He said, when the yogis reach sagehood, as I call it, they began to hear things that they never heard before. And they were puzzled by it. They were, like you say, there were sounds up in the heavens, you know? Well, here's how they interpret it. They would say it, and then they were so damn sensitive, they saw the effects. Holy smoke. And he said that's how most of the mantras that are in our tradition were found. They were discovered by the sages. And then they recorded them, you know, in Sanskrit, and then gave them to the students as time went on. Swamiji explained to me, they're like, he said a sound is both a magnet and a repulsion. So these mantras will either attract or they will repel. Because some are very protective, huh? So you won't have any danger affect you. No, he told me that, you know, you can attract bees if you want to attract. Oh, got to tell you a story. I haven't told you this one. This is when he was in Tibet with the Buddhists. Get this. He got permission to go and live in a Buddhist monastery. And he told me, I had to check these guys out, you know, see how good they really are. And he was invited to be on the, how would you call it, the examining board for 2 Buddhist students who are now taking their PhD. They invite the student in, and the board is sitting up there, you know, very proper. Swamiji's at the end, you know, where's my tilk? You know, so he comes in, the master, the headmaster of the board says, commence. He goes into meditation. And you can tell he's saying a mantra. All of a sudden, bees started coming into the hallway. Swamiji, I love him for this, he said, am I being hypnotized? So without them looking, he took his cape and he grabbed one and squashed it. My God, it is a bee. I'm not being hypnotized. Look at that, see? That's my boy. And so the bee swirled around and swirled around. And finally the master said, that's enough. And the bees, out. He passed. And they called in the next one. This is the one I like. He sits down. Goes into silence. Wait. And there was a portal, a door, you know, Swamiji could see. Swamiji looks out. Here's coming elephants, tigers, lions, vultures coming towards where they are. Swamiji thinking, my God, they'll have me for lunch. And they get to the doorstep and the master says, that's enough. And they turn around and they all went back to the jungle. That's what a master can do. I'll tell you the one about his grandmaster. His master says, hey, my grandmaster wants to meet you. Oh boy, he's been dying to meet him, you know. But he lives in Tibet, on the Tibetan border between India and Tibet, huh? Now this is during the Raj period. They don't know what that is. This is when the British, you know, unjustly. So his master said, look, you've got to be clever. You know what I mean. you've got to avoid the British patrols going through the jungle. Because you will not have permission to travel. And if they find you, they'll throw you in jail. And that'll be very hard to me to get you out. So just be clever. So he had to travel a lot, early in the morning or late at night, just hang out in the jungle. And he was given the direction by his master, and he finally crossed into Tibet. His master lived up on a cave up on the hill, and it had a beautiful view. You know, like those views you see in the Matterhorn, something like that, you know, in the Alps. And he's a hefty guy and very jolly. Swamiji's master was a Supreme Court justice. Two different personalities. A loving, kind man, but just a touch stern, maybe. But his grandmaster was, hey, come on, boy, let's have some chai. He was that type of guy. So Swamiji finally gets up to the cave. Oh, come on in, come on in. What kind of chai do you like? Oh, okay. He goes over and goes, and it was there. And he hands it to him. And Swamiji says, oh my God. Can you imagine just going like this and it's there? And he does it as if he was, you know, shaking out a handkerchief or something. Swami says, oh boy, I'm going to have fun with this guy. So, son, we're going to have some enjoyable days together, huh? Yes, I'm looking forward to your training. Oh, you'll get it. Don't worry. More ways than one. And so I said, oh, he says, what's the problem? I left my notes in the jungle, way back. I forgot I went and left my pencil. Oh, you mean these? Can you imagine? He hands him his own notes. He just goes behind like this and goes, zoop! You can imagine the startlement, because Swamiji is very young, young 20s. And then he says, well, listen, son, would you go over and get that plaque? It was like a, you know, that you'd put, say, a teacup on or, you know, a piece of cake. He goes over, and, you know, it's maybe not even a pound. And he can't lift it. He said, wait a minute, he finally gets it up, and he's thinking, what is it? Then it starts talking to him. He's the Grandmaster. He put himself into the tree.
Oh my God.
And so he drops it and says, don't worry, it didn't hurt me. And that's the way they had for 3 days. And then he said, it's time to go back because there's more army of the British are coming in and I want to get you back there because the patrols are going to increase and I don't want you getting caught. So you better take off now. You have my blessing, so all the time. And he went. I think he's still alive. Swami's master left, but he didn't, to the best of my knowledge. He's still there. I'm trying to figure out how to get to go see him, you know?
Yeah.
Just one night even. Then Swamiji his master said, I'm sending him to Mahatma Gandhi. That was quite an adventure. He shows up, and Mahatma says, well, what am I going to do with you? Well, let's try you out here. I want you to be the inspector. You're to take the, what would you call it, the appointment sheet. People used to make appointment after appointment after appointment. And I want you to be very rigorous. Nobody gets around the appointment. I don't care what excuse they give you if their son is dying. You do not let them get ahead of the others, because that's not being fair. Gandhi was very much in sense of justice. So I said, okay. And he'd be taking your name, please. Okay. You're scheduled for 6 o'clock tonight. Say it's 11 in the morning. Well, how about here's a little, you know, in India under the table, huh? And Swami says, well, thank you. You're still scheduled and you can have it back. I don't need it. They started to complain to Gandhi that he was too rigorous. He said, that's why I keep him there. I like that young man. And he said, I asked him, what did you notice about Gandhi that impressed you? He said it was his fairness that seemed to come out more in the way he conducted himself with people. He was very cheerful, trying to encourage people in their poverty. Keep doing your practices, your meditation. Yeah. We're under a dark cloud, and I'll pray for you and all that. There's an interesting story Swamiji told me about. A woman came to him having walked 40 miles on sand. It's a little warm in India, in case you didn't know that. It gets warmer than here. And she bring her little boy along. And she finally got an appointment. And she said, will you convince him not to eat sugar? Because she knew it was bad for him. The little boy's there, Gandhi's here, and he says to the mother, come back next week. I'll give you my answer. The poor woman turns around with her little lad, 40 miles in the hot sun, all the way back. A week later, trudging again, exhausted, comes. It's her time. She comes up. And he remembers her. And he says, come here, son. Don't eat sugar. I want your word on that. And he just stared at him, And the boy said, okay. And the mother's looking. Well, you made me go home and come back? Why couldn't you have told him that last week? He said, I hadn't given up sugar myself. That's the fairness that was in him. That impressed Swamiji very much. Have you heard of a guy called Aurobindo? Swamiji was sent to him by his master. Aurobindo was probably the brightest yogi I have ever read. He writes beautifully. He happened to be educated at Cambridge. And it's interesting how he came upon yoga. Again, we're speaking of the period of the Raj, early last century. While he's at the college, he gets interested in what they called it, the opposition to the Raj. I can't remember the Indian name they gave it. Anyway, there were groups formed like that we had like in the 60s with the hippies that were protesting our Vietnam, remember?
Yeah.
That's what they were doing, protesting the British being in India. And he wasn't very clever. He got caught by the police. He's in there. He's very bright. He's doing first, as they call it in British, meaning he's magna cum laude in his grades. And here he is in prison. And there happened to be a yogi there. Oh boy, now the fun starts. Yogi didn't mind it. He was in his meditation, just having his chai. So he turns to Aurobindo. Aurobindo's curious. What are you doing? He said, why do you want to know? Because he wanted to get him in, pull him in. He said, you think you're so smart, huh? You with your first and also, how do you know I get first? Oh, I just knew. So he started telling him things. He just wowed him, huh? Okay, how do you do that? Sit down, son, and learn something. He started practicing it so intently, things were happening to him in the jail. He said, this is it. And he gave up the protest to spend all the time now. And that's how Aurobindo came. And that's how he learned it, in jail. Can you imagine? And so he went to
I think so.
I think way down south. He created like a city, and he wanted people to come. And he had ashrams, lodges, people could stay, and he would teach. He started doing commentaries based on his meditation of the Upanishads, all the sacred writings of India, the mythologies and so on. They're brilliant. They're really interesting. And what I like about him is he's grounded a lot. It's not just preaching. So Swamiji had to go there. He's older than Swamiji, and his master said, go down Auroville, have some fun down there. Okay. And he was very kind to Swamiji. He took him in and he taught him some advanced practices. So he stayed there a while, and I asked Swamiji, what did you think of him? He said, he's the smartest yogi I've ever found on the land. My master's the smartest one up in the mountains. That's the distinction he made. Aurobindo decided to apply himself to a task. And this one wowed me. I read everything I could on it. Get this. He wanted to go inside to the essence of humanness and change totally the DNA so that we could live as long as we want. Can you imagine that? And he would constantly dwell in, try to get down there, because he wanted to, turn it around. And then it came to him that he was going to have to leave his body. Oh, shoot. But then a certain French woman came to the ashram. Brilliant, lovely, and she just became enthralled with the place, with him. And he asked her, would you continue where I leave off? Aurobindo trains her, meditation, hatha, everything, breathing. And she begins to take that as her task, because he asked her. Aurobindo takes off. He's gone. So now she's there. She thought, I need to record this. It just so happened, another Frenchman came, called Prem. He could speak English, and French, of course. So get this. She would go into these deep states, and I'll tell you more about them. When she came out, she had a perfect photographic memory. She would narrate to him all night. And he would take it down, and you can get the books, they're in English. They're fascinating. And then what he did, hang on for this one, he went out. She trained him. He went into a little broader, and his books are fascinating on yoga. Okay, now let me go back. Remember, he's taking all her dictation down verbatim. He doesn't change a thing. She asked him, don't. And she, get this. Remember, she's in an ashram. There are dozens of people who are all vying for attention from Aurobindo. I saw this happen at Swami Rama's all the time. She would go so deep, she would start picking up the subconscious thoughts of all the students. And she'd go, ooh. She'd wince. Because she was feeling their dislike and jealousy of her. And they felt like more stronger than pinpricks hitting her. And she had to get past that, huh? That's what I'm saying. It's fascinating to read. She knew everything they were thinking about. And she was so vulnerable that the negativity was just hitting her, you know. And then she has to keep going down deeper and deeper and deeper. That place still exists, but I don't know who runs it. Now, another interesting man Swami knew, and I was very impressed, Nobel Prize writer, Tagore. He went to school with Tagore. Now, Tagore started a whole new university schema in which he brought in all the arts. You got to learn to dance, male or female, paint, sculpture, musical instruments. Swamiji was telling me about the training he had to go through. And he happened to like one of the female students down there who was going through with him. Her name was Indira Gandhi. That's why they were like that later on. Huh? Now the book, Autobiography of the Yogi, Swamiji was very kind in his opinion of the book. He told me it's exaggerated.
Hard to read.
Yeah, it is. You know the Babaji they talk about in there? Well, let me clarify. The word itself means what? Grandfather? Or, so it's not unusual to hear it many times in India, right? Let's go back to Swamiji's master, who's married, living in Bombay, is a judge on the Supreme Court, has one son. He also has a guru. It's that one that's up in the Tibet. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that. His son gets involved with the underground against the British. And they decide they're going to assassinate the commissioner, British commissioner, at the horse races. The kid has never fired a gun in his life. And they give it to him to do. And he fires it, hits the commissioner in the bottom of the ear, takes off a lobe, and gets captured. That means death, even without a trial. So, the other judges who were British held Swamiji's master in such high respect, they came to him and said, look, your son's been captured, he faces hanging, but because of our regard for you, if you will denounce him publicly for what he did, we'll reduce the sentence from hanging to life imprisonment. And Swamiji's master said, my son is over 21, he's responsible for his own actions, and you shouldn't be in my country. You know what they did to him? Despite him, they made him sign the death certificate on his own son. When he signed it, he broke the pen right on the paper with a splotch, stood up, walked out, and was never seen again. His wife went insane and killed herself because of her love for her son. And he went back. Now his master said to him, I know how you feel, but you have another son coming. Guess who? That's right. Now, this is something, I wish I could express the words. I can't find the words of gratitude. Swami Rama's master, according to Swamiji, he said, he was the most disciplined yogi he has ever met in his existence. Babaji of the Yogananda side, he was trained at the same time as our Grand Master to the Tibetan master. They were brothers. You know, they were buddies. And when he...
Yes.
The Tibetan masters finished with their training, said, okay, you two guys, go in different directions. Enjoy your life. And so one went this way, one went that way. There was a new state that came into being in India, way up north. Remember? Yeah, above Rishikesh. Brand new state. I was there the night it passed officially, and I was dancing with men around a fire. Previous to that night, say about 3 months earlier, the groups that were trying to force this state, it was a guerrilla gang. They didn't think Swami Rama was fighting strongly enough for the cause. Swamiji wanted it. He wanted to have this new state. And he was doing what he could, but they decided he wasn't doing enough. So they were going to teach people like him a lesson. And they went over to his helicopter and blew it up, thinking he was in it. And so from that point on, guess this. You know what he had to do? When he traveled in a truck or in a taxi in that area, he kept a rifle on his lap. He'd never use it, but that's to scare them. But that's what things get like sometimes. I was with him one night, one afternoon. We were traveling up north. Oh, way up. Not to Gangotri, but about halfway up. And he says, let's go take a shower. So we parked. He had a driver. We parked. And he told the driver, get us some chai. Come on, chai, we're going to go have a shower. I said, okay. Where? He said, right over here. Side of the wall. Warm water was coming out. Bouncing off. And we just stood under it. Got drenched. And then he floored me. He said, by the way, Dave has come here for a shower. Davis? Like showers? Yep, they do. They come. I've seen them. I thought, how nice. And then we turned around. He said, come on, I want you to meet a yogi. An older guy who Swamiji were good friends with. And he introduced me. And so I'm sitting next to the two of them, and they're so calm, I fall asleep. First time I ever fell asleep in front of Swamiji with my head in the cave. That was fun. I was, embarrassed because you never fall asleep in front of your master. That's an insult. He said, you did it. You were too tranquil and affected. And he told me he used to roam this whole area. And then he showed me where Ramatirtha committed samadhi in the water. We went right by it. And then I have to tell you a story about Davy. Excuse me, Davy. This is a lovely story. We get there and he says, hey, go explore the town. Okay. And it's starting to get dark. And everybody's out, with their cymbals and hashish and people on beds of nails. It's a regular circus. It's just fun, Jim. I used to say, how does he do that? I touched him. Ouch. How does he do that? Anyway, we walked. We came to this temple. I thought, I was in the mood of, you've seen one temple, you've seen them all. And Swami said, you ought to go to that temple. I knew something was up, but I was not in the mood. I missed it. I wasn't prudent. So Davy took to it. And as you go up, you pat the fanny of the Nandini. Tell them what that is.
It's the bull.
It's a little bowl.
Shiva temple.
It's about this, yeah. It's a Shiva temple. You pat it.
It's a bowl.
Yeah, it's all in concrete. And then you go up in. And there's a flame, a little altar, and a few people. And I said, hey gang, let's just, 5 minutes, then let's come on. So Davy sits down, starts meditating. After 10 minutes, you've seen them one, you've seen them all, so I go outside. And there are cows there, and you can smell what they've left behind and all that. This is India. 10 minutes go by, 20 minutes go by, 40 minutes go by, 60 minutes go by. She's still up there. Finally go up. There are people who put money in her lap. If you want money, you sit down in the temple. Get as silent as you can. And just stay there. You'll wake up. You'll have paper, coins, maybe gold pieces, a jewel. Because they think this, by giving it, they get the blessing. There was Davy. And I felt, I don't want to disturb her, but, stumbling. She's not in her body, fully. I have to help her down the stairs, and she's at an angle, And we walk back like this. What takes normally 10 minutes, took 40 minutes to walk back. And that by that time she's starting to wake up, and there's Swamiji. He's looking at her. You had an experience. Swamiji, I didn't want to come back. I know. She said, everything went by me. Justin went by me. Even you, Swamiji, went by me. I know. All the stars went by me. Planets. Nucleus. The universe. Here we go. And he said, you've been at that temple many times. So have you. But you never knew how to use it. That was quite an experience that night. So I've learned to respect Temple Town. That was an interesting town. Always some festival going on, and it was always till all hours of the meeting. To the morning. Boy, trying to sleep with all the symbols. One night, we were in his ashram outside Nepal, and he came over to our apartment there. He says, "Come on, with me. Just be quiet." And we went along the path, and we stopped. And there was like a little hill that had a small bridge. And we squatted. And there was a cougar, mountain lion, with 3 pups. We were less than 100 yards from her. He says, just be quiet, just watch. And there she was, licking them. And that was an experience.